Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Amanda Abella, who's the founder and CEO of Make Money Your Honey. Amanda, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here, and I'm so appreciative of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you because I always love learning new tips and tricks from people in business. And then, of course, it's always fun to see what in the world is Make Money Your Honey. And so it's really going to be interesting to see what the focus of your business is. But get us started with your entrepreneurial journey. What has that been like for you up to this point?
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I graduated from college in 2010 and couldn't find a job. Great recession. We all remember it, fun times. And I was really struggling. And a friend handed me a book called The Art of Nonconformity by Chris Guillebeau. And in the book, it basically talked about traveling all over the world and making money on the internet. And I was like, whoa, why has no one ever said this to me before? It was a big aha moment. And long story short, I ended up Googling how to make money writing because I was like, well, I could be a freelance writer. And then one of my first quote unquote clients wasn't really a client. It was a content mill. Those things don't exist anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they don't exist because it was like you'd write a bunch of articles and get paid on ad revenue. That was the only way I knew to get started. And one of my quote unquote clients had these articles available about finance. And it was about, budgeting and debt payoff and all those things. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about money. Clearly, I need to learn about money because the world is on fire economically. Yeah. What if I get paid to learn about money? So I took those assignments. And at the time, it was like $15 an article, which is nothing but to a 22-year-old who couldn't find a job and loves to write. That was like, whoa. Ended up starting a blog, right, to hold myself accountable. Thought it might get me some clients and clips. Long story short, it turned into an 8-year-long career of being a personal finance writer. I ended up having clients like Wells Fargo, Discover, Credit Karma, all those guys. I also did a lot of brand ambassador work and influencer work for companies like TransUnion and Capital One. So I did that for about 8 years, but around year 6, I ran into a problem. I was running into a few problems, right? Number one, why am I not getting as ahead financially as I want to? And I'm literally studying finance every day for a living. 2, how many times do I have to write about budgets before people get it? So I felt like I wasn't really having an impact. And 3, I know I'm capable of doing a lot more. And this isn't scalable. Like that was really the big thing for me. It's like, if I want to make more money and impact more people, I'm going to have to take on more clients, and I literally can't do it. So I had to start coming up with a plan B. And at the time, this was end of 2016, I think. And at the time, the only thing that kept popping up in my head, particularly during meditations, was like system. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? But it was something like I needed to invest in somebody who kind of had a more analytical brain than me. And that's what I did. And I ended up, that person ended up helping me create my first ever training program. Or I should say my first ever training program that I charged $2,000 for, and it actually succeeded because I had done several before then, but they were like $47 and it was getting me nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. So I ended up creating this. This was in 2017, made $10,000 in cash in 2 weeks for a video training program. And I had a couple of calls a week for 6 weeks as a component. And my brain just went, whoa. Like, this is it. This is the thing.
This is what works.
This is what works. Right. So that was 7 years in. And then a year after that, I completely let go of the first business in terms of being a writer. It would take another little while before I let go of the brand ambassador work. But a year, let's say we quit the finance stuff. And then 6 months after that, I had to hire my first employee. And as of this week, we're up to 3 employees other than myself.
And in how many years?
18, 19, 3.
Okay. Yeah. And
two of those came this year though. So we've doubled this year in revenue and team.
Yeah. Well, it's neat to see those realizations. And I think I forget who said it. There's some quote that I'm sure that people will claim like, oh no, I said this. But it goes something like, when people pay, they pay attention. So the old free this and free that and 2747. I think that what you just described there was people going, yeah, whatever. But when they pay that thousands of dollars, now they're like, okay, I better get my money's worth. So I'm going to dig in and dive in, and it must be legit if it's a couple $1,000s. So is that what you found when because much of it was the same content, maybe it was just polished up or a little bit more depth, but when people noticed that it was a higher price tag, it now must be a lot more valuable.
Yep. And there's a lot of psychological studies that explain why that is. So you nailed it. Yep.
Have you read the book Influence by Robert Cialdini?
Yes, I have. And I recommend it to clients all the time and my team. Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember the example? I'll probably butcher it, but maybe you'll know it better, in like the first chapter or two, about the jewelry store.
Yes, I remember.
Tell that one, because I want to get your take on it, because it'll remind me of it. But something like, the owner goes out on vacation and says to the employee, sell this collection for, and they meant half, and he thought it was ×2. So he doubled the price and boom, it sold.
It sold out. So I think it was in Arizona, and it was like a touristy area, and they were selling jewelry common for the area, and they couldn't get any sales. And then the business owner went on vacation and was like, okay, well, let me reduce the price. And it said half, I guess, like a ×2 or a 50% or something. And the owner meant to reduce it, but the staff didn't get that. They're like, oh, she said increase the price, let's increase it. And they sold out.
Yeah. It's that perception of value. It's and how about this? Let's think about this too. That's a monetary example. I feel that there's another example of value that maybe when you work with clients that you would say the same thing, which is, you need to provide good customer service. But if you are too available to people, if your clients can pick up the phone and call you, and you pick up every single time at whatever hour, maybe that's giving the wrong connotation that your time is not as valuable. Maybe if they need to see you or speak with you, there needs to be, hey, here's the link, jump on my calendar here. It's going to be a couple days because I'm really booked. Does that maybe positioning in the mind of the target of your audience and your clients help also with that, like level of influence and value?
It sure does. I will say that it does turn into a problem when leads have to wait 2 weeks to talk to somebody because they go cold. So we just hired a salesperson to help with that. So in that sense, it could turn into a problem, right? So then you got to hire people at that point.
Yep.
But to your point, yes, it actually does help. And we actually have it set up in our business right now where, we have an option after someone goes through our signature offer, which is a 90-day sales training. And what we do is we walk them through how to create an offer, because most people are struggling with sales because they have no idea what they're selling or to who. So that's the first thing we do. We go into influence, actually the psychology of influence. And I recommend that book all the time. And then we go into sales skills, particularly outbound sales skills, because in the online spaces, people are not learning that. They're like, oh, the leads will just come to you if you post on social media. And we're like, actually, no, you need to learn how to talk to people. So that's a 90-day training, and that's taught by my team now. And on the other side of that, we have a mastermind that you are then eligible for. Well, our sales go up if that's the only way to really get access to me.
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, to your point, absolutely.
100%.
If you're too available, it does not work.
Well, and yeah. So if you, as the face of the company, as the decision maker, as the CEO, are too available, but to your point, 100%, you can't have, no access to anyone at the company. So you need to make sure you've got your support staff and all of that. So let's jump into, I'm on your website and I'm looking at, imagine if you could triple your revenue selling high ticket products. I would venture to say that many entrepreneurs would nod their head and say, love it. Yay. But while working half the time, good. But now there needs to be the shift and the move in many entrepreneurs' business to productize their business, because I feel like there's a lot of people that would say, I don't have a product to sell at all, if not high or low ticket. So what do you do to help them realize what they can actually package up?
So essentially, we help them create their intellectual property. That's where the system comes from.
Okay.
And for example, one of our recent clients, Claudia, was a career coach. She was making $7,000 a month, writing resumes for people, doing interview coaching, doing all the things, basically working 7 days a week, 8 to 10. Right. So she said she couldn't even see her husband for dinner, and they both worked from home. She went through our program, and within 90 days, she'd had her first $17,000 week. And she just told us on Monday she's made 6 figures since July.
Wow.
So yeah. And what we did with hers, we're like, okay, let's take what's been going on in your head one-on-one all this time and actually create a system out of it, because a high ticket buyer is looking for 2 things, a system and transformation. So let's design it that way so you can charge high ticket prices. And I'm about to say a really important point, because I feel like this is an area where people make a lot of mistakes. Her beta price for a video training was $3,500.
Wow.
People are out here giving away beta trainings for free. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That was your beta price.
So here's a question in that scenario right there. I would say from the outside looking in, hearing that someone might think in their mind, yeah, but like career advice, writing resumes, that's a service. I've got to do something. So, how in the world do I package up me pulling apart your resume and really sprucing that up? Because if that person's target audience is high performing VPs of whatever that wants to get a better job, they won't have time to go through my video anything. And I sell it for whatever amount, and they've got to go through module 1, 2, 3, and 4 to learn. They don't have time for that. What do you say to that person?
So that goes into the product design. We deal with a lot of busy people in my business. And I'm like, great, make the videos 5 minutes each. And you tell them, oh, not a problem. It'll take you 5 minutes a day.
Yeah. Okay. And then
that's basically how you do that.
Then you just break down your process into these digestible pieces that if you follow these 5-minute chunks, boom, 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 then at the end, you've got this poof done. And then at the end, I'll swoop in, review what you've done. And now you've got a piece of whatever your content you're doing, whatever that might be, is now finished up.
Oh, actually, for the video training, they don't get any access to her at all. For group, they want them reviewing the things. They're looking at least 5,000.
Yeah.
Yep. Because again, it's that access thing you were talking about. Yeah. And if someone wants to work with her one-on-one, great. That just became the most expensive thing on the menu.
Yep. And because that is the case, you've got to make sure you're fishing in the right pond. So she is using this as an example. She's not going to go to college seniors and sell this because this is how you can get your first job. No, They don't have the money. That she needs to really dial in her target audience really well.
Yeah, she's working with professionals, and she's gotten results for people where I think one of them even got like it was something crazy. I think almost like a 6-figure, it was like a 30% increase, but it turned out to be like a 6-figure raise basically for moving from one job to another. So she gets insane results for people if they follow her system.
Yes, that is really good. And, I think that a lot of people might hear, oh, well, package up your expertise and put it into a whatever system training, coaching, whatever that is, and then sell that as a package with maybe group, mastermind. There's a lot of moving pieces to that, right? It's not like you can just buy the checklist and go, cool, I can do that. You might need someone looking over your shoulder, guiding you through that process so that at the end, you actually have that system package to sell.
Yeah. And that's where my team and I come in. We're really great at this. Our associate coach, program director, we call him Curriculum Queen, Lisa. She's written 30 books and she's been a teacher for a long time. And they really love her because she's able to go in there and be like, okay, here's the actual curriculum you're going to walk people through. So if they need help with that, come work with us. That's literally our specialty. That's her specialty. And then I come in and I'm like, all right, here's how to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. And also here's something else. My question about time. Okay, good, 5 minutes. But if someone comes to you and says, "Okay, I know I've got a lot of stuff in my head that I can create this. I just need your guidance." Good. How long does it take? Is this like a 6-month process, 9 months, and this time next year you'll have something, or is it something that can get some momentum going pretty quickly?
To get the offer done, we can get that done in 3 weeks. And that includes the pricing. And that's just for the outline of the offer, because what we have our people do is like, do not create a single video, do not do anything until you have market validation. Go create it with the first group and get paid to create it.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're flying blind.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Because I think that too many people, it's like ready, aim, fire. Too many people are like, fire, 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 or ready, fire, fire, fire. They don't even get ready.
For years.
Yeah.
I lived there for years in the first business. Yes.
Well, you know what? I think that we almost are programmed to do that and think that way with all of the instant access to everything we have. Streaming this, text that, instant chat message and all that, and online. Oh, we're talking about packaging up your stuff online. While it is that, really virtual, electronic, online access, you do need to take that step back and just make sure that what you're doing is packaged up well, polished up well, and presented well. And that takes a second.
Yeah. And it's really about moving from like being a self-employed person or a freelancer to starting to think like a CEO.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's like, okay, I have to start removing myself from this. And it's also about thinking about the long view, not just the short term. Because in the long view, if you have a training program, guess what? You can hire other people to deliver that. It doesn't have to be you. And that's much easier to train other people to sell on your behalf.
100%. Yeah, that's a really super good point. So when you have people that now get it, they come on board, what are some of the first quick wins, the offer? Okay, so what next? Once they get their offer dialed in, what are they then rolling out to then make this come to life?
From there, we're working on marketing messaging. Most people come to us. They've done a lot of other training programs and they're like, I'm posting on social media. No one's responding. No one's buying. And it's usually two problems. We can always trace it back to the offer because they haven't done market research or they haven't gone deep enough in the market research and they're not even sure on what they're selling. So then once we have that information, okay, now we can start teaching you the psychology of marketing and start using that data so it starts becoming effective and you really understand the process and the psychology behind what drives people to buy. Yeah.
And I think that we could pause here for about another 3.5 hours on the messaging, right? And I don't think you need to get into NLP in the sense.
No, you don't need to get into any of that stuff. Yeah. You just need to know how to solve people. You need to know what people's problems are and how to present them and how to solve them.
Yep. So here's an approach that I take. Tell me how off base or right on target is this. I feel it, like many people, you've been through sales training programs and you've got to create, that desired future. And where do you want to be in your personal professional life? And wow, wouldn't it be great if, and then where are you now? And then, oh, look at this gap. How horrible is that? Doesn't that feel horrible? You make them stew in their mess and then I can help you get there. And here's the package and blah, blah, blah. All of that. Right. But I feel like people these days, they kind of know that you're taking them through that and they feel it feels contrived. And I don't know where I heard this in the past, but real is rare. And I feel like it's like, just talk to people. And here's a perfect example. This past week, I was on a call with the communications director of this company and then the CEO, and they were talking about one of my packages and they had been on my podcast. And I just said, all right, here's the deal. I'm not going to ask you 9,000 questions. Let me just ask you 2 or 3 here just to clarify. Okay, good. And then let me just show you this. We were on a Zoom and I just did a screen share and I just showed them this image and I was like, so here's what I think would really help you if we did blah, 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 blah. And I said, I just want to be real with you guys because you don't have time to go. And you could almost just see them kind of go, and just exhale. And then guess what? I said, I'm not going to end this call with give me your credit card number. And I just want you to understand everything that there is. And if there's any questions, I'm here. The next day, they're like, let's go. And credit card paid and all that. So my point is, I do realize that there's some validity from past research of, really sticking that stick in the hornet's nest and making them feel where they're at. But where's the good balance between knowing that your messaging was dialed in and then when you speak to someone that you're developing a solid relationship?
I am so happy you just brought this up because literally one of our missions in our company is to teach women specifically the art and science of sales and I'm become slightly obsessed with this topic actually that you're talking about because bro marketers are the new used car salesmen.
Yeah.
And pretty much
100%.
100%. And here's the thing. So my sales skills, and I train every day, and I just got a training for my team. We train every day together because everybody needs to understand these concepts. But one of our mission, and I've had a lot of male mentors in sales that I am eternally grateful for. Right. But can I curse on this podcast by any chance? Because
let's keep it kind of a little clean.
Okay. They're dealing with a clientele that they're a bunch of like hard A's, like hard butts. You know what I mean? So like they have to be super aggressive. Hardcore, right? Like they have to be super aggressive sometimes. Yeah. Right. And that you don't always need to do that. Okay. It doesn't all apply to our audience who are like coaches and consultants and freelancers who are ready to scale. Like you don't have to go through all that. Right. At the same time, I took a bunch of what's going on in the online spaces, particularly with women, because we hear the stories all the time, right? Every single week, I've got a story from someone who's like, man, I've spent $40,000 and all I got was marketing and manifesting, but no one taught me how to sell. Yeah. Right. So we've become really obsessed as a company of like, how do we merge these both worlds and teach both the art and the science of sales? How do we really find that balance? That is our obsession as a company. And I'm obsessed with figuring that out. Yeah.
I think that unfortunately, you can be obsessed and then you can come up with what works for you. And then your star pupil is going to go, okay, I took the bones of that and I just made it my own a little bit here. I didn't deviate, right? Because like what I was mentioning before about, where do you want to be? Where are you now? And here's the gap and I can take you there. That's kind of like one of the foundational, obviously you need to know where they want to go or else you're going to be not explaining your thing the best way. But what I feel like is maybe it doesn't take 7 questions to get that one piece of information. Maybe it's just one or two,
it takes like 3 questions max.
Yeah. For sure.
We recently had a client come to us and she was struggling with sales. And I was like, and she worked for another business where they had taught her sales. I'm like, let me see this script that they gave you. Yep. I swear it was 17 pages long.
Yeah.
Right. And it was talking about the dog and the family and like your dreams and this and that and the third. I'm like, why are we doing this? Right. She joined us in our program, wasn't making any money, had to figure out what she was going to cancel to pay us. And within 60 days was making 5 figures a month. Right. Yeah. And we took that 17-page long sales page and simplified it to like a page.
Yeah. Have you ever read the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller?
I have not.
You need to get that one. It's a really, really good. So building a story brand, and he talks about story selling, but it's not once upon a time. It is being the guide and you're not the hero and you're guiding people through the process. But one of the key things he says is when you confuse, you lose. And if someone has to spend mental calories and energy to understand you lost what, if you lose them with that whole long 70-page thing, you're not going to get them back. So why don't you give them these little morsels, these little nuggets that have these little zingers and hot buttons. And then if they want more, okay, now we can explain more. But it's just really is that brevity. And it's really interesting. So now that we're on this topic, let me tell you this is an interesting thing. I'm holding in my hand here and we're just audio only, so you can't see this, but in my hand, I'm holding my latest book on Amazon, which is titled Brevity Plus Clarity Equals Authority. Because if you don't know what you think and you can't explain it really clearly, you don't have the trust and authority with that person or that target audience. So, man, be brief, be clear. And then now people are like, cool, let's get going. I don't need 19 paragraphs in an email. I need like 4 bullet points and, hit send.
Yeah. And to your earlier point about the consumer knowing what people are doing, I think the online business spaces are in for a really rude awakening. And, my company is positioned to help anybody in this position, right? Where they're learning a lot of marketing tactics that worked in 2012, but they're not working in 2021. Costs have gone up. The conversions aren't there. It's because the consumer has gotten smarter.
Yep.
And I said last year when everything got crazy in 2020, I was like, oh, you're about to see the difference between marketers and people who actually know how to sell.
Yeah.
So, and people are the consumer's gotten smarter and they're craving human connection. So right now I'm training my team to do phone calls on people who bought a $27 product. And do you want to hear what the response is that we get? Oh my God, no one's ever called us for something like this. Thank you for checking in on us. Thank you so much. Right. And then, we start pre-qualifying them and moving them through the sales process for an upsell, but nobody does that because they're not being taught to do that.
Well, and so how about this? I think we can go on for like 4.5 more hours and go, oh yeah, that makes me think of, I think that sometimes the word success in life business, it doesn't really take that much. It's just doing the right thing. So here's an example. How many times have you left a message for someone and got a call back 4.5 years later or an email? And it's like, come on. And if you can just be there and respond to your emails same day or respond to your voicemails and be, accessible and yes, within arm's reach, like we talked about earlier. But what I feel like is when you make that phone call and say, hey, how you doing on that $27 product? And is there anything they're like, what? So if you're doing the things other people are not willing to do, sometimes it doesn't mean go door to door and knock on 100 doors. That you don't need to do all that, but sometimes it's just those little touches that really make you stand out because your competition is not willing to do that.
Or they don't know to do it. We'll have people come to us all the time and they're doing all this stuff that worked in 2012 and they're struggling with the sales, right? Or they're struggling with consistent cash flow. And oftentimes it's because they don't understand the sales part of things. Right. So, that's literally what I told my team yesterday. Like, no one else is doing this. So let's roll.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Today, in 2021 here, everyone's on instant this and chat. So guess what? Where maybe an opportunity is in the mailbox. Maybe if you mailed something to somebody you know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. We send snail mail. We send snail mail, right? And it's people love it. So we'll send snail mail when a new client comes on. We send snail mail to referral partners. If a referral closes, we're sending snail mail. People love it. Or recently, I was at the offices of Grant Cardone. Actually, we were doing a training as a team and this is hilarious. They were trying to close me, like his team, on a product I wasn't ready for yet. Right. But they did a really good job. Yeah. Right. Because I understand sales. So I know what was going on. I'm like, dang, they're good. How do I get my team trained up like that and teach them the macro of sales? They didn't close me. I still sent them a card afterward. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, thank you so much for showing us an exemplary example of what we're looking for when we hire salespeople. Yeah. That's what I wrote on the card. So then many months later, I give them a call and I'm like, hey, we're ready to execute on this. I have the team for it now. And they're like, we're going to help you so much because you are the only person who's ever sent this sales team a card.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. And how long did that card take you to send? And how much did that cost? Oh, seconds. Less than $1. So it's those little things that stand out. I literally so let's talk about cards. I interviewed on my podcast 2 weeks ago one of the big name speakers. His name is Kevin Kneble, and he's in the financial services world. Anyway, I'm holding a card that he sent me. It's got his logo, his picture, his contact info. Hey, Mike, thanks for the blah, 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 Kevin. And it still, it's got shelf life, quote unquote, because an email, you're like, oh, cool, delete, because I want zero inbox. But a card or a little postcard or a whatever, it's like, that stands out and gets remembered and gets retained. So we should probably wrap up here because we could keep on going. So I really enjoy your approach. So let's do this here. I think this is so cool. I can just tell that your program is great, great, great. So what's the best way that people can reach out and learn more about all of your programs and how to take their ideas out of their head, get that sales messaging down pat, get that offer down pat, and productize their business.
So if you want everything, the podcast, the programs, go to makemoneyyourhoney.com and you'll see everything there. And then if you want a freebie, this is a favorite freebie. If you're tired of the 17-page long sales scripts, we actually have a single page sales script and we give it away for free. So all you need to do is go to Amanda Abella, and that's spelled A-B as in boy, ELLA.com/sales script. And you can get it totally for free. I mean, we've had people who use that one script and they're making money in 2 weeks.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to have that link in the show notes for you. And I really appreciate you coming on today, Amanda. It was really fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me. And I agree, we could talk for hours about this topic. Maybe we'll have to come back and do a part 2.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.